All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about the products and services Apple company launched after Steve Jobs returns back as Apple CEO. In 1998, Apple launched a product called uh, iMac G3. Now, before the release of iMac G3, investors were losing confidence in Apple, and Apple stock price were plunging or declining. So when the iMac G3 was released, a very cute iPhone, personal computer with USB devices and so many features. So people really fell for it. Then the sales starts going up. People were buying, makes Apple start realizing profit and also bringing consumer confidence back. Now, in 2000, they announced launching iPod and then Mac OS X. Now, Apple built Mac OS X through Nest operating system, the business that brought Steve Jobs back to Apple business. Remember, they bought Nest company in 1996, 1996, 1997 with the intention of bringing Steve Jobs back. But then, if they were to purchase other operating system from a different company, I don't think Steve Jobs was ready to come back to Apple. So in other video, I said it. I made a point that it was a strategic move that this executives then took just to bring Steve Jobs back, because they realized that, hey, he is the mastermind behind this business. So Mac OS X was introduced in 2000. And then in 2001, they released the iPod. The iPod, just a small device with over 500 music. So there was a headline that a small device with 1,000 music on it. Yeah. Okay. So that was that. And then 2003, they launched, I think, iTunes, also one of their system softwares. Now, here comes the big event in 2007. Hey, we are talking about Apple first mobile phone. All right. So in California Mac conference, Apple announced to introduce another product. Now, in 2007, I think it was in January, they introduced their first ever phone. They introduced Apple TV, and then the same year they changed the name from Apple Computer Incorporation to Apple Incorporation. It means they are beyond only producing or manufacturing computers, right? So in 2007, they had three solid events in 2007. Now let's talk about their first product, iPhone, in 2007. I'm talking about their first ever phone ever launched or ever released. Now, before the launch of iPhone, people were using Motorola, BlackBerry, Ericsson, Nokia smartphone. But then it was a phone with a keyboard, most of them. So iPhone, the first generation, is the first ever phone ever released that you don't need the keypad. The keypad is being operated by using software. Unlike the BlackBerry, Nokia, where you have your phone and then also the keypad. So it was a revolutionary in phone or mobile phone markets, right? When the phone was released, some of big names, the big brands companies, were just laughing at Apple. How can you release phone without a keyboard? Now, sometimes when a product is released or a service is released, the CEOs or the expertise are not the one to determine how the market is going to go. The consumer decides. You and I, we buy their product or services. We decide when we buy, we use it and we like it, we do a recommendation for another person to also buy. Now, people feels good using iPhone, like with the key like touch, right? Now you go through the features on first iPhone, that's the first generation. You realize that there was a web browser, there was a weather where you can just use your phone to check weather update and so many features on it. So people really like the phone, right? And then they also launched Apple TV the same year, and then they changed the name from Apple Computers Incorporation to Apple Incorporation, the one we are having today, the one we are using today, right? So that was 2007. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about Steve Jobs. Do you know when, after Steve Jobs passed on in 2011, he was having a lot of health complications. So we're going to go through and see what really happened that made doctors couldn't able to save Steve Jobs with all his money, right? So take care of yourself and then subscribe, like, follow Mazify across all social media platforms. Stay blessed.